Hello, and welcome to Daughters of Wisdom. My name is Tammy Treat, and I'm here with Cindy Baker, and we're discussing a topic today that's very near and dear to our hearts mission work. Cindy, won't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, great. I'll dive right in. My name's Cindy Baker. I am married to my husband, Aaron. We have two daughters, Kayla and Malia. They are 20 and 17 right now, and we did mission work in Vanuatu in the South Pacific. Most people are like, where is that? I've never ever heard of Vanuatu. So it is
Oh,
kind of
yes.
in the area of Australia and New Zealand and Fiji, down in that area of the world. And we lived there 7 years. We lived 6 years in the capital city of Port Vila. And then our last year that we were there, we moved to an outer island and lived in the village in the bush, which was a totally different experience. So we did that for from 2005 to 2012. So we were in Vanuatu at the same time that Joey and Tammy were in the Pacific. So we all kind of embarked on our mission works about the same time. And then now Aaron and I live in Missouri in the St. Louis area, and he preaches for the church in Forestell.
Wonderful. Yeah, we've known Cindy and Aaron for a few years.
Yes.
My husband Joey and I, we also moved to the islands in 2005. We were missionaries to Saipan, Palau, and then Guam. We are newly moved back to the States. We've been back stateside for a little over 2 years, so we're still transitioning. Um, and we currently live in the St. Louis area as well, but south of St. Louis.
Yes. So we never see each other.
We very rarely
Very
see each
rarely.
other. Um, but Joey works with GBN and is their promoter, and so we're on the road a lot. So in a lot of ways, we're similarly in a similar position as especially reporting. It's very similar to reporting. So why are we doing this topic? I don't think we discuss mission work enough among women. There's a lot of short term workers. There's a lot of men, especially, who go over and, stay for 3 or 4 weeks. But there's not a lot of families. There's not a lot of long term workers going over in the field. And so we wanted to bring more awareness to that lifestyle and maybe open eyes.
Yeah. Have some discussion about it. And, sometimes you think, I could never do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought in the beginning. I could never do that. And, I really dug in my heels, and we'll talk about that more after a bit. But, that was a really big thing for me, is like, I never imagined that I would live in a third world country, or that I could even do such a thing. And just having that experience behind me, I'm like, people can do more than they think they can.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Absolutely.
you can't do it without the grace of God and
absolutely
that constant help and support. But you can do more than you think you can.
That's right. Well, one of the main things we were talking about last night, Romans 10 verses 14 and 15. Do you want to read that?
I happen to have it right here.
All right. You're ready.
Let me move that. Okay. Romans 10, 14 and 15 says, "How then will they call on him in whom they have not believed? How will they believe in him whom they have not heard? And how will they hear without a preacher? How will they preach unless they are sent? Just as it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news of good things."
Exactly.
And that's the main reason, our motivation behind going to the field in the first place, is seeing that need. And I know for us that was a big thing. Like, when we set foot in Vanuatu and saw there wasn't a lot of workers that had been there in the past, and people had been in and out, but there was a lot of people that were hungry for the gospel, that needed the strengthening. And it's like, how can we not go?
Exactly. And I know for Joey and I, Joey and I grew up in very different situations. I grew up in a small country congregation in Tennessee where the only mission experience I really had was men coming in who were doing short-term trips for 2 or 3 weeks at a time. that was it. I did not know a single missionary family who did long-term work. Joey, on the other hand, grew up in a larger congregation in Arkansas, and he had met families. And so he had this desire from a young age to do that work someday.
Right.
And when we were dating, we had been dating for about 2 months, and things were getting serious. And one day he says, "Hey, this is what I want to do. And if you don't think this is something you can do, then I think we might need to stop here before it gets more serious." And I kind of was just in shock. I was like, "What? I've never even heard of doing that."
No.
And I, at that time, I had never even been on an airplane. So it was a little bit of a moment, but I've always had a travel heart. I've always enjoyed seeing other places, doing things. I've always had a desire to do more. And so, the only thing I could tell him was, listen, I've never been on a plane. I've never been overseas. But I'm willing to learn to see if I can. I'm willing to try. And that's really all I could say. So, yeah.
And that's really the best place to start.
It is.
I mean,
it is.
Just the willingness to try and see if you could do it.
Yes. Yeah. And he was happy with that. He was, as long as I was not going to say no.
Yeah.
I will not.
Right.
Now, did I see myself doing that? Had I ever had any idea? No. No.
I hear you.
So did you ever see yourself as a missionary?
No. Well, okay. Yes and no.
Okay.
I saw myself as a missionary in a modern place where they had flushing toilets. And that was my number one thing. I don't even like an outhouse when I'm camping. I want to live somewhere modern. So my parents, I grew up in a home where we traveled a lot. My parents loved traveling. When I was a kid, they had season tickets to this. It was it was called the Travel Show. And we would go to, I don't know, it was like a place where they held big conventions and things like that. And they would show a 2-hour movie of a country in the world. And every month they did a different country. And I would tag along with them to these travel shows and learn about people in different places and what their lives were like. And so it instilled in me a love of other people in other places and a curiosity for how they lived and what their lives were like. So that, that kind of sparked my interest in living somewhere else. But the thought of living somewhere more primitive, I was like, no, I don't think that's for me. But Aaron Baker had other ideas. And we were considering Fiji and Vanuatu. At the time, we were students at Bear Valley. And we had gone on a survey trip. We'd looked at Fiji and Vanuatu. And I was like, I can do Fiji. It's more modern. That's the kind of place I can live. I think I can do that.
Yes.
And that was a stretch for me. But we were part of a mission team, and the guys ended up deciding, no, we think Vanuatu has more of a need. We're going to go there. And my initial reaction was like, no, I can't do that. And I cried. And, it was a whole process because I was terrified.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't think I can live somewhere like that.
Yes.
So it took a long time to, I wanted to do mission work, but I didn't think I was able to do what God was asking. Here's this opportunity, and I didn't think I was up for it. So it took a long time to get to that point, and a lot of actual tears and blood, sweat, and tears, to get there. But I ended up falling in love with it. So that's kind of my backstory.
Good.
Yeah. So.
Well, for us, we ended up going on a mission trip with Freed Hardeman about a month after we got married. We called it kind of our belated honeymoon to India. Yeah. So that was an interesting honeymoon.
Yeah.
But my eyes were opened. I grew up in a small town. You kind of get this mentality of the world revolves around here. This is the world.
Right.
and to be thrust suddenly into this other culture where they don't look like us, they don't act like us, they don't eat like us, they don't believe like us. There were so many differences that it just really literally slapped me in the face.
Yeah.
And I came back from that trip and I told Joey that it felt as though I had like blinders on my eyes and they suddenly were gone.
Yeah.
And it was like I could see the world differently.
Yeah. It does. It changes your perspective.
It does.
Absolutely. For sure. But
and now was I ready to move right away? No. No, we needed some time. We needed some experience in mission, in the ministry and everything.
And that's all part of that working towards preparing to go on the field.
Yes.
You know,
which is exactly what we are talking about today. Preparing.
That's right.
Because there's a lot to preparing for this life. It's not a jump into it and we'll just, make it work.
Yeah. Well, and it kind of falls into kind of 3 different overall categories when you're preparing to go on the field. There's the physical preparation, like, I've got to, what do I need to stock up on? What do I need to take over? Are we going to get a container? Are we going with basically nothing, And every situation is going to be a little bit different. Then you have to prepare spiritually because you're going to teach other people and you have to develop your spiritual life enough, not just in the ability to teach Bible studies and to start doing that for probably the first time ever, but also just your personal spiritual life as far as being able to withstand the challenges that come in going to the mission field. And then kind of even tied in with that is like that emotional preparation, like, am I ready to do this? What kind of emotions am I going to face in transitioning to a mission field? And how am I going to work through those? So I feel like the spiritual and the emotional are kind of tied together, but they are their own things.
Yes.
But I feel like that's, so like physically, what did you all do to get ready for your mission works?
Our physical, it changed. And that was, and honestly, fundraising and that time spent, we spent about, 15 months, I think, fundraising and working with our overseeing congregation. And that time was invaluable because we got to know our overseeing congregation. We worked with them. They got to know us so that we had confidence in each other.
Yes.
And in our work and in how things would go.
Yeah.
And
very important.
which is very important. But we also, I lost my train of thought.
But
Isn't
you know what? You will
lovely?
pick it back
Yeah,
up
I
because
will.
you're going to talk about your survey trip. Okay, so did you all take a survey trip?
We did.
Okay.
We did. And I think that was in fact, that was the very first thing we did before we even said, hey, we want to do this. We said, let's go check it out.
It's a must do.
It's absolutely. Because I had no idea. There's visiting a foreign place and then there's living there.
Yes.
And they are not the same.
No. Vacationing.
Staying in a hotel, eating in restaurants, it is not the same as moving there and living in a home.
No.
And living life.
You don't generally go check the price of a refrigerator when you're on vacation.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like it's a totally different mindset going on a survey trip.
And what is available and what kind of neighborhoods are we talking about? What kind of situation will there be for children if you have children?
Yeah. Schooling. What are you going to do for school for them? Educating your kids. Yeah.
And it was very eye-opening. We got to stay with the Vices, who were the missionaries who were currently there, and we would be replacing them
in Saipan.
Yes,
right?
in Saipan. And I was able to live. I was able to, help make dinner at night. We were going. We went to the grocery store. I was able to see what was available. I was able to talk to Pam about prices of everything and just the difficulties that you do have and seeing what it would be like. And I came away from that going, there's no reason I can't live there.
That's great.
So.
That's amazing.
Then that led into, okay, now what?
Now what do I do?
Oh, boy. Now comes the fun part.
That's right. That's right.
Fundraising.
Exactly. Yes. Fundraising, always a
Oh.
part of moving to the field,
Mm-hmm.
preparing that. And it's hard to um, not worry about that because it's
Mm-hmm.
such a big part of your ability to do the mission work.
Yes.
You got to have the funds to have somewhere to live, a way to feed your family, pay the necessary bills and things, but yes, you also have to have a work fund to produce
Mm-hmm.
materials and Bible studies and tracts and all the things you're going to hand out to people. And there's a lot involved in it, and it can very easily get overwhelming and even discouraging if you feel like it's impossible, we can't do
Yes.
that. But
Yeah.
we have to also keep in perspective, if it's God's will that you do this,
Mm-hmm.
he will make a way.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's hard to see how he's going to do that, but
Yes.
he'll make a way.
And I know Joey and I have felt very frequently that fundraising kind of helped weed out those who really weren't committed.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah,
Because
I've
there
heard
were
that before.
times, 6 months in, and we're like, we're still so far
Right.
from where we need to be.
Yeah.
But then the closer it got,
Mm-hmm.
the money started
Yeah.
coming in.
Yeah. You
We
just
we
have to
kept
keep
going.
at it. You got to
Yes.
keep at it, keep trying, keep talking.
Yes.
You got to do your part for the work so God can do his part for the work.
Exactly.
And that's always a huge thing. I think one of the big things about preparing physically is like kind of learning the culture
Mm-hmm.
too. When you go on the survey trip, standing back and looking and observing, like, how do they live? How do these people live?
Mm-hmm.
And then how am I going to integrate myself into that?
Mm-hmm.
That was a big part of preparation, I think, for us, especially because Vanuatu was such a different lifestyle, completely different than the U.S.
Oh, yes.
So it was, can I imagine myself living this life?
Yes.
Once I got to the point that I was like, okay, yes, I want to go to Vanuatu, which that was a long road getting to that point.
Mm-hmm.
But once I got to that point, then it was like, okay, I think I can see myself here.
Mm-hmm.
And then what am I going to learn about this culture, so that I can be more effective? You've got to learn what's offensive. Because what we do in America is not necessarily what people do in other countries.
Yes,
and that can
absolutely.
get challenging.
Yeah, it's very important to know those things early on.
Mm-hmm.
Funny story. In Chuk, one of their curse words is actually a well-known drink, powdered drink, tang.
Yes,
But
sounds
yet
good.
that word is a curse word, a very, very ugly curse word in
Yes.
Chukese.
Yeah.
And so instead of calling it tang, they called it tanj. That's very important to know.
That is important to know. In the store, when you can't find it,
yes.
you should know the right thing to call
Oh, yes.
it. Yeah.
Or if you're having a church potluck and you're serving tanj.
Yes. True. But like that's stuff you don't even think about going in. I never would have thought about that. In Vanuatu, they speak Bislama.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much everybody speaks Bislama, so we learned the language when we went. But Bislama is like, there's not a lot of ways to describe things. It's just like there's one word. And you think about like in English, we have like the appropriate word, like for general conversation. Then we have like medical terms for things. And then we have a bunch of slang words for things, some more offensive than others. But in Bislama, there's one word. And some of our more offensive words in English were the only word to use in Bislama. That's just what they called things.
Wow.
And I was terrified the first time we came home on furlough. And I think Kayla was about 2 years old. And I'm like, she is going to use one of these words in Bible class. And they are going to be like, the missionary is teaching her daughter to curse. And they are the worst missionaries ever. Get this child out of here. I'm like, Kayla, please don't use what they call it in Bislama.
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
Just, those things you have to be aware of. And I never knew that that would be an issue until I was getting ready to go into Vanuatu and preparing and thinking about those things and learning the culture and learning the language. And yeah, it's just all part of it.
Yes. And that's, you have to be able to shift and change.
Right.
When you, of course, we're going to talk more about that later when we get into on the field.
Yes.
But right now we're still talking about preparation and the things that we do. And one of the things that we both kind of dealt with in a different manner was what we took with us.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yes.
know, we had to shift.
Mm-hmm.
We originally said, okay, we're going to sell everything and then we're just going to buy it when we get there,
Right.
rather than paying for this shipping container.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we did that. We sold everything, only a few months later to be told, well, you know, you might actually want to just bring stuff, because what you get here is a lot higher, a lot cheaper made.
Yeah.
It will be, but you'll be much better off if you just bring your own things. So we had to switch gears, rebuy everything, pack a 40-foot shipping container, and ship it overseas.
Wow. Yeah.
So, but you had a different experience.
We did. Yes, we did not take as much over, for a variety of reasons. And we had a mission team of 5. We shared a 20-foot container. We were the only ones with a child at that time, so we had the larger portion of the container.
Definitely.
Because we had other extra things that we had to take over, but we didn't take a lot over. Most houses and apartments or whatnot were furnished, so there wasn't a need to take over a lot of furniture. It was hard to get things in that part of the world, but yet at the same time, because it was a more primitive lifestyle, there was a lot that we just didn't need. But it was hard to kind of wrap our minds around, like, I don't need that when I go there, and I need to let go of that. You know, just different possessions or things that were, you know, we did store some stuff in Colorado, and we had a small storage unit that we kept, you know, some things that we weren't quite ready to get rid of, which ironically, when we went back and cleaned out that storage unit, almost everything we're like, we don't need this. You know, your perspective changes.
Yes.
But it was really hard
Yeah.
to let go of some of those physical possessions, which I think was a big learning experience for me. Like, what do I really need to live? Not as much as I think I need. You know, that was a growth experience.
Yeah.
Not one of those easy ones.
Yes.
You know, which,
and it's okay if it takes a little time to let those things go.
Right.
Because we were in the same position. We also stored a lot of things here in the States with my parents. And through the years, that pile of things slowly dwindled to where it became about maybe a fourth of what we started with.
Yeah.
Because there was so much that it was like, you know what? We don't need this. And we aren't going to want it when we come back.
Right.
So your perspective does change.
It does change. I think, you know, it changes a lot spiritually. That, you know, it has an impact. Like, mission work changes it challenges you. The preparation to teach others when you've never taught a Bible study before. I had very little experience in doing a one-on-one study before we moved to the mission field. And I look back, our first study was with this sweet girl named Yolande, and I was like co-teaching with our teammate. And I look back on that study and I think, oh my goodness, it was just the way I taught things, just the way I tried to explain things. And of course, I'm trying to do it in a different language, and I flubbed over this. And, you know, I mean, I still taught the truth, but it just, like, it was just hard.
Yes.
But really, there is no help for that other than doing it.
Yeah.
You have to have that first somewhat awkward study with somebody and make yourself do that, or you'll never be able to improve on that, because each time it gets easier. Just like with everything in life, the more you do it, the easier it gets.
Yes.
And definitely one-on-one studies were that way, but I had to prepare for that. You know, you have to prepare yourself. You have to practice your Bible studies and get familiar with your scriptures, and, you know, so you know where to go when they have questions and things. And there's no help for it other than just diving in and doing it.
Yes.
So that was a big part for us.
Yes.
And you have to be patient.
Exactly. Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. Well, it reminds me, the first year we got there was this sweet, sweet Chuukese lady who lived in Saipan, and she had just been baptized, and she was on fire. And she was telling all of her friends, and she was doing her best. She wanted everybody to study the Bible. And I will never forget, we had been there less than a year, and she comes to me one Sunday and she says, "Oh, sister, I have a study for us. We have to do this Bible study with this friend." And I just looked at her and I thought, what? I'm not prepared for this because I had never done a
Right.
one-on-one
Yeah.
personal Bible study by myself before.
Mm,
I had helped.
right.
I had sat with my husband. I'm like, no, he's the one who does the
You
studies.
have the wrong girl.
He's the one who will sit down and I will help him. But she is so excited, and I was like, there is no way I can tell
Right.
this woman I can't do that.
Right.
Because she's looking at me with confidence and, oh,
Yep.
you can do this and we're
Yes.
going to do this
Right.
and I will be your translator. And
Yeah.
so I
And
just
then,
said, okay.
yes.
And
You have
that
to.
one study became 5 on a weekly basis because she kept talking to more and more friends.
Right.
So, you kind of, sometimes you have to let yourself get thrown into the deep end.
Right. You do.
And you just have to swim,
Mm-hmm.
whether you want to
Absolutely.
or not.
Well, and from a women's perspective, Aaron said, I don't know how many times that, like, how much more impactful it is for me to study with another woman
Yes.
because they'll ask me things that they won't ask him.
Exactly.
Or they'll be willing to talk about things
Yes.
that they won't be willing to talk about with him. And he's like, I can do things on the mission field that he's not able to do because I'm a woman. And that's why it's so important for women to be willing to do mission work, to try to push themselves to like just give it a try, because there's all these women in the world, and they having another Christian woman being able to teach them and show them what the Christian life looks like as a woman is makes way more of an impact than it is as a man's being like, this is how you need to live as a woman.
Yes.
I mean, that can help. That's I don't want to invalue that or devalue that, but at the same time, like, being able to see that lived out in us is just, it makes a big difference.
Yes. Well, and they need to see our example as mothers and as wives.
Yes.
Because most of these people don't have good examples, and they haven't had the proper instruction on how to be a good wife and a good mother and how to raise your children to love God. They need to see that example.
Right. Absolutely. That's true. Well, it all comes with prayer, lots and lots of prayer.
Oh, yes.
That was a huge thing for me because, as you know, I was very resistant to going to Vanuatu in the beginning because of the primitive conditions. But, once I decided, like, okay, I am willing to try. And when I came to that point that I made that decision, I had to pray my way onto the field because it was such a stretch for me. And I moved from resistance, and then I got to the point where I'm like, well, I'll just go and survive. But then I realized, like, that's no way to live your life. You don't want to just go and survive for 5 years. Like, you need to live your life.
Yes.
And I started to accept it, and then I came to love it. And I never would have thought that possible, but I loved our life in Vanuatu. I love the people. I love the culture. I love the work we did there and continue to do there. And Cindy, in the beginning, I didn't think that was even possible. So you have to pray and keep depending on God to help you through those hard times. Like, it's just such a, it does a lot.
Yes. And it's amazing what can change in you when you allow yourself to be pushed out of your box.
Yes.
When you allow God to help you move through those doors that you may not want to walk through right now.
Because it's not the easy times that help you grow spiritually. It's the hard times. We grow through adversity, but we have to be willing to do those hard things.
Yes.
Because when you're willing to do those hard things, then it helps you be able to do more hard things. So it's definitely, you have to be willing to grow.
Yes.
Yep. I've heard growth begins just outside your comfort zone. And since I'm a comfort zone girl,
I absolutely feel that.
I got to get outside it, and that's hard.
Yes.
But it's true. It's true. It's a true statement.
Yeah. Well, and that leads us to emotional preparation, which, again, like you said, is so connected to your spiritual. But there are a lot of things, that you're going to deal with. You're going to deal with homesickness. Yeah. You're going to deal with missing your family, missing familiar things. I can remember times of going to the grocery store and being so excited because there was something that I knew from back home on that shelf.
I recognize that.
Yes. And I could take it home and I could eat this thing, and it would just make me feel like I was home again.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you have moments like that, and you have to
It's
learn
normal. Yeah.
that that's going to happen. You have
Mm-hmm.
to allow it to happen
Mm-hmm.
and know that you will get through it.
Yes.
You will.
Yes. That's right. And that's where again that spiritual preparation comes
Yes.
in, because
Yes.
you can't get through it alone.
No.
You have to get through it. God can help you get through it, and that's the only way it's possible. It's part of that battle is learning to let go
Mm-hmm.
of who you were as an American, because
Yes.
now you live in a different country and you have to start identifying with how they live, and you don't like completely lose
Mm-hmm.
your Americanness. But you have to start identifying with how they live and
Yes.
adapting to different ways, and that's really difficult to let go of those things and those ways of thinking. And we get into this rut where we think, well, the way we do it here is the best way, it's the only
Oh,
way.
yes.
And you quickly learn, like, there are other ways to
Mm-hmm.
live life,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay. you
Yes.
know how they deal with their laundry, or how they do their shopping, or just those little everyday things that we wives tend to deal with
Mm-hmm.
in our life. Like, they're different in different countries. They're not the same as we do in America, but that doesn't mean they're wrong. So that's
Exactly.
wrapping your mind around that is really important. We have to just be willing to think differently.
Yes. Yes.
Sure.
We're very independent here in the U.S. And, that was one of the things that, made it easier, I think, for both of us to
Yeah.
go overseas, is because we are raised with a more independent mentality.
Mm-hmm.
However, I know for us in the islands, and I think probably Vanuatu too, they're very family oriented.
Yes.
They are not independent.
No. Yeah.
We are Catholic.
Yeah.
We are this or this, or
Yeah.
we are going to do this.
Yes.
And so, you got to kind of change your mindset a little bit. And it opened my eyes a lot as far as that kind of thing goes. And so now I'm a little less independent thinking and a little more family leaning.
Yeah.
Especially with a grandson. And, I want to be close and I
Yeah.
want to, have that relationship, that close
Yeah.
relationship. But, there's just a lot of change that you're going to go through emotionally. But these things help develop us.
Right.
And help us, like you said before, it helps us to go on to do harder things later. And isn't that what Christian life is supposed to be? We're supposed to develop from needing milk to needing meat and to doing more and to being able to be used in other ways.
Yes. Yeah.
So
it's a process, but
it is.
It makes you a more effective missionary.
Yes.
If you're willing to let that process happen.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think this has been a great lesson on preparing. There's obviously a lot involved in preparing. Highly recommend if you're thinking in the lines of mission work, talking to seasoned missionaries. There is no one better than to get some ideas from than someone who's been there and done that.
That's right.
But we're gonna
move on to the
move
next
on
thing
from here, and yeah. All right.